Perhaps the World Cup from Mexico will rekindle that enthusiasm in all of us. And what better way to start the year than to welcome you and invite you to see an FA Cup third round tie live on Match of the Day. Play the music.
Atmosphere we have for you here at Selhurst Park, the adopted home of Charlton Athletic, who in a few moments take on West Ham United in an intriguing third round tie. Charlton currently fourth in the second division promotion race, West Ham fifth in the first division, and a side containing 20-goal Frank McAvenny, the season's new scoring sensation. Well, with me are Jimmy Hill, who spent much of the time that Match of the Day has been off the air watching Charlton as a director of the club, and of course it's the reason he's not filling this neutral chair. Alongside Jim, Trevor Brooking, one of West Ham's favourite sons, and I reckon Trevor has every reason to feel a little anxious about the battle about to commence. But before we talk about the possibilities, the pitch. Unfit for yesterday afternoon's tie between Crystal Palace and Luton, but perfectly playable this afternoon. Now, Trevor, I said you're a little anxious, but you have the men to do the job.
Yes, no, I think the lads are confident. I mean, they've had a terrific first half of the season. I'm very pleased the pitch is in perfect order. I mean, it's going to be one on merit. And obviously, I mean, apart from a whole side playing well, the one lad that has caught the eye has to be Frank McAvenny. There he is, they're doing a little jinx with the ball. He's had a super run. Ironically enough, the first game of the season he was playing in a sort of withdrawn midfield role, joining the strikers. Then Paul Goddard got injured, and then since then the goals haven't stopped. He's very persistent, very sharp, and a very good finisher as well, Bob.
Wonderful to see Alvin Martin back in as well.
Yes, he's having a great season. I think he's going to make sure he's on that Mexico plane because he's been outstanding at the back. A lot of people don't realise, in fact, West Ham have the second best defensive record in the league this season, and unusual for us to be that strong. And he's been outstanding with Tony Gale alongside him.
And behind him, the 35-year-old goalkeeper.
Yeah, Big Eric, as we call him. That's his nickname at the club. Look at his hands. I mean, he's never going to drop anything with his hands that size, but he has been in terrific form this year. He looked as good as I've ever seen him, really, since he's joined the club. Super.
And, of course, he has a problem with the knee, doesn't he, Trevor?
Yes.
He doesn't do that much training nowadays with Parksy.
No, he has about 2 or 3 light sessions. Phil reckons that's just enough, and certainly on the form is proving the point. He just takes it easy during the week so as not to put too much stress on the knees.
Now, Jimmy, I hate to tell you that in 5 cup ties, West Ham have beaten Charlton in each of those 5, so who are the men who are going to do it for you today?
Well, I don't know. Lenny's got it all worked out, of course. Lenny Lawrence, that's the manager, and he believes in height. He believes you have to have enough height in your side in order to cope with free kicks and throws in and things like that.
People like Mark Hazelwood?
Mark Hazelwood in midfield, who is, for a midfield player, he's a fair old size. So those balls dropping in the middle of the field like that, he's got a better chance than a normal-sized midfield player.
Interesting, John Pearson as well.
Yes,
he's got height, hasn't he?
John has, and you see also there he's got skill too, the way he took that ball on his chest. He's about 6'4". Very, very nice lad indeed. A goal scorer. Took a little while to settle down, but he's going to test Alvin Martin this afternoon, just as much, I think, as any first division centre forward has done this year.
I suppose the same applies to Steve Thompson. He's another big lad.
Well, he's the captain coming up now, big burly Steve. He's got a lovely spirit. One of those players who's good to have in the dressing room as well as on the field. There he is. Showing
those legs, Jim.
They are quite strong, those legs, Trev, that are going to set about your lads this afternoon, I have to tell you. But he will give everything, and he's the first, alongside John Pender there, who's a Republic of Ireland under-21 international and also very dominating in the air, are going to give West Ham problems upstairs because they're not all that tall as a side.
Well, the main thing is we really are so fortunate to have the game on here at Selhurst Park because 2 other cup ties are being called off. Stoke versus Notts County, Middlesbrough against Southampton. The game between last season's beaten finalists Everton and 4th Division Exeter, that's on. After half an hour's play at Goodison, the score is Everton 0, Exeter 0. A report from Barry Davis later. But now it's time to join our match commentators here for Charlton against West Ham, and they are Bobby Charlton and John Motson.
Let's check first On the team news, Charlton are playing the side that was expected overnight. At number 7, Steve Gritt has been preferred to George Shipley. That's in the midfield. And the back four, all new this season, by the way. Lenny Lawrence has rebuilt this side. And the West Ham news, as they prepare to kick off, is that Neil Orr is unfit. And at number 11, George Parris, 21 years old, is playing his first FA Cup tie. Otherwise, the West Ham side is the one which has been doing so well. Their long unbeaten run in the league ended on Boxing Day at Tottenham. Charlton haven't played since Boxing Day either, and it's Charlton, the underdogs, today in the red strip. The match refereed by Brian Hill from Kettering. West Ham in change strip, white shirts, blue shorts, playing from left to right. Steve Walford with the kick. Up goes Pearson. Charlton have never beaten West Ham in a cup tie, and have beaten them only once since the war in any match. That was a league game at the Valley back in '79. That was a foul by Reid, the left back, on little Mark Ward, who's the number 7 for West Ham. And their number 2 is Ray Stewart. It's in the centre that the pitch will obviously be difficult and may cut up the sanded area, but it looks good down the flanks and in the goal mouths. And that's where Dickens is going now, forcing a corner for West Ham, off Pender. Now, West Ham on corner kicks will look for Alvin Martin and Tony Gale to come forward from the back. Ward will swing the ball in. Came off Dickens in the end. There's Crotty. Charlton trying to clear from a fairly sticky patch just outside the penalty area. The ball will get clogged up a little bit, I think. But here's Rob Lee, number 8. And they've got Curbishley forward on the far side of the area, and Lee goes for goal. And Steve Walford was on hand, but the referee says goal kick. Rob Lee made the break, only 19 years old, and as a schoolboy, he trained with West Ham, didn't sign for them, and later was taken to watch Charlton by his family, and was actually a turnstile operator at the Valley before he signed as a player. Now the fans come through the turnstiles to watch him. West Ham bench. Jeff Pike's the sub today, hasn't played this season, first team. Number 10, Cotty. McAvenny's in the penalty area. And there he is. Tony Cotty, quick, nimble, pulling wide. Nicky Johns, the Charlton keeper, happy to see McAvenny's first effort go wide of the goal. That's Flanagan, the experienced number 11 of Charlton. This is Lee. Ward. Here's Humphrey, the right back. Looking for Gritt. It's a good ball and he did well to reach it. Tackle was by Steve Walford. Throw in, says the referee. Now then, a long throw could be on here from Steve Thompson, the centre half, who can get good distance from there. Pearson will hover on the near side of the area. That's where it's going. Walford headed it out. Curbishley. Flanagan! West Ham quick to counter with Ward. Number 9, Dickens. Did well to get it in, Cotty. Away by John Pender. Well, that Charlton attack started with Alan Kirbishley looking threatening, the former West Ham player. Flanagan had the final shot. Here's Ward. That's the sort of start you want from a cut tie. Very direct football by both sides, and Walford just cut that out. A lively opening 5 minutes here. That was Thompson's header, then Devonshire. Dickens. Humphrey. Dickens ahead of Hazelwood, and Humphrey back. Used to play for Wolves. Say the work done overnight by Len Chatterton, the groundsman here at Selhurst Park, has paid huge dividends, especially on the flanks. The pitch looks lovely there. Brian Hill, a referee who likes to keep the game moving when he can. So it's a free kick to Charlton to be taken by Mark Reed. Pearson is the target again. This is Ray Stewart. Walford on to Devonshire. Chance to run here at the defence a little bit. Cotty. Oh. And Kirbyshire took advantage. Look for Lee. And that's Gale. Indication there as Cotty laid the ball back that the ball is going to stick in certain areas of the pitch more than in others. Forward by Humphrey. Devonshire. And Dickens through the middle. Both sides keen to play the early ball through the centre. That was Devonshire's pass. Should make for some exciting stuff. Long kick by Nicky Johns. That was Thompson. Cotty, Devonshire. Foul. Steve Britt tucking back into Mark Devonshire, but here he is again. There are 3 waiting in the centre for West Ham. This is Cotty. Came off Kirbishley. Dickens. And here's Stewart. Dickens coming towards the near post. Hazelwood. Kirbishley. Oh, nicely done by Alan Kirbishley. Went for the ambitious ball, though. Here's Gale. Walford. Driven towards McAvenny. Referee says play on. Cotty. Now Walford. Another good ball by Kirbishley. And a good pass too on there by Flanagan to Reed. Pearson and Lee are waiting on the far side of the area. Lee's come shorter now. Here's Flanagan. And it's aimed at Pearson. Mind you, there's some tall men in that West Ham defence to cope with Pearson's threat in the air. this. McAvenny, foul, John Pender. And now you know exactly what he looks like. Ten minutes gone as Ray Stewart takes the free kick for West Ham. McAvenny, and off Hazelwood a corner. It could come left to Flanagan. Oh, deflection took it away. Pearson inadvertently got a hold of that. Kirbishley was looking actually for Flanagan wide on this side. Stewart forward. Rough and tumble. Pender and McAvenny. Free kick to Charlton. Kirbishley. This is Potty. McAvenny. Devonshire. There are bound to be mistakes. It's very sticky in the middle there. Hazelwood. And that's a mistake by Ray Stewart. Now it's grit for Charlton. Kirbishley. And Flanagan's there again. Hazelwood. He can hit them from distance. In there, tucked back, and oh goodness me, Alvin Martin kicked the ball against Steve Walford, and how it wasn't an own goal I'll never know. It's a corner. Extraordinary. And it all happened because Parks couldn't hold the shot by Hazelwood. It came loose to Robert Lee. Pearson was hoping. Martin against Walford and across the line. Corner to be taken by Flanagan. Charlton have got some useful left-footers in this team, and Hazelwood is one of them. And he used it to good effect there from distance. Here's Lee. It was Hazelwood's initial shot. It would have had to have gone down as an own goal by Steve Walford had it gone in, I'm sure. Here's Kirbishley. McAvenny. Here's Devonshire. McAvenny, good turn. That's useful. Dickens was in there. The header by Alan Dickens. Given against John Pearson. I've got Bobby Charlton in the commentary box with me. Just time for your early impressions, Bobby.
Well, the FA Cup competition certainly is the greatest competition in the world. You just got to come down here and feel the excitement among all these people watching. A very, very aggressive match. I would say that the West Ham players are a bit more educated, trying to play the ball on the floor, but the more direct Charlton, proven actually that they're more dangerous.
There's McAvenny, away by Pender. Score here 0-0, and I'm told at half-time at Goodison Park it's Everton 0, Exeter City 0. So the 4th Division side appear to be acquitting themselves well against the league champions. Here at Selhurst Park, now the home of Charlton Athletic. We've been playing for 15 minutes. And the nearest we've come to a goal was that extraordinary skirmish in the West Ham 6-yard area. Here's Gale. Kirbishley, and now it's Pender. I think you had a sneaking feeling for Charlton, Bobby, before the kick-off, didn't you?
Yes, I just felt that there was an atmosphere around about the place, and the Charlton lads seemed particularly confident watching them before the match. They do look as though they're certainly not frightened of West Ham's reputation. A couple of tackles that have been a bit naughty, but there again, they have created some really good chances. One particularly fell to Mike Flanagan, where he actually knocked the ball directly at the goalkeeper when it would have looked easier to knock it into the corners. But nevertheless, a very exciting match, and a battle really of two different types of sides. And I think probably by the end of the match, quite a few goals.
Well, let's hope so. As neutrals at this London derby. Here's Ray Stewart. Inside for Cotty to Dickens. McAvenny's there again. Cotty's there too. It's going to come back to Stewart. And Nicky Johns underneath this, under pressure, but he's all right now. One or two older Charlton viewers may have noticed our opening titles today, including a famous shot back in 1947 when Charlton won the FA Cup. A goal by Chris Duffy, and Sam Bartram, the goalkeeper, was going up to receive his medal. Well, Nicky Johns there has played for Charlton more often than any other goalkeeper apart from the legendary Sam. It's Harris for West Ham. Free kick, Devonshire foul. Britt has obviously been given a job there. He was brought in, or rather preferred, to George Shipley at number 7 by Lenny Lawrence. Partly, I think, because his defensive qualities may help to cope with the threat of Devonshire on West Ham's left. And there he is now. Into Cotty. Now Walford. Devonshire, good ball. Walford. McAvenny was going in. Cotty dived in front of him. A goal kick given. Devonshire thought it should be a corner, and so did Cotty. You might get a better idea whether it was or not from this. It was a nice ball from Devonshire to Walford, and was it the defender that put it behind? It looked as though it might have been, and that West Ham could have had a case for a corner. And again, Devonshire and Walford combine in that slick, confident West Ham style where the first touch is usually so good. Pender is at McAvenny's back all the time, just making sure he can't turn. Here's Flanagan. Pearson's pulled away to the far side. Kirbishley. Number 3, Reid. Good stuff from Charlton. And Flanagan heads it down, and Ward. Stewart to Ward. Still Ward. Came off Hazelwood. Pearson coming in from the far side, waiting for a cross. Oh, it nearly ran for him, and Devonshire tucked it back. There was a misunderstanding initially between Alvin Martin and Steve Walford again, and it put West Ham in difficulty. Because the ball knocked in by Rob Lee was difficult. Neither defender really got hold of that, and Devonshire did. Thompson. This is Gale. McAvenny. Here's Ward to Gale. Ward again. Hazelwood came right across him. Free kick. Martin has gone up on the far side. Gale is also forward. Stewart to take it. Aimed at Alvin Martin. And he got there too. McAvenny's in there. Stopped at the expense of a corner. The threat came from Alvin Martin. Always a dangerous customer at set plays for West Ham. And he'll stay there now because Alan Devonshire will take this corner. Dickens coming off the post for a short one. Devonshire again. And Dickens. And McAvenny. And Reid cleared it. Well, it promises to be a match of goal-mouth scrambles, this. She's got a lot to do with the conditions, I fancy. Defenders having to dig the ball out at times. Devonshire to Gale. Paris is square. Hazelwood saw the chance to intercept. Pearson to try and shake off Ward. Curvishly. Charlton moving nicely off the ball. Humphrey joined the attack. And a foul by Devonshire on John Humphrey. Halfway through the first half. Charlton of the second division against West Ham of the first. No goals yet. Here's Hazelwood. He was voted the Player of the Year by the Charlton supporters last season, Mark Hazelwood, but still looking for his first goal of this season, and twice this afternoon he hasn't been too far away. Curvishly to Hazelwood. It'll go wide again. Humphrey. The Grits over on the right-hand side. They do put their passes together well, Charlton, when they get into their rhythm. Purposeful and patient. Reid with the cross. Pearson. Lee. Play on. West Ham had the ball. Paris. Now McAvenny. Up against Humphrey. Intelligent play, Stewart. Stewart shots. Nicky Johns made a fine save. I rather feel there may have even been an earlier deflection before it got as far as him. Stewart blasted it. Well, certainly there was a defender in front of him, but Johns saved it. Well known for his power shooting, Ray Stewart. It'll be Devonshire with the corner. And there's Alvin Martin, marked by Thompson. Lee. Well, Lenny Lawrence, the Charlton manager, talked quite a lot about the responsibility of these two teams to go forward and show the right approach in this first live match. And I know John Lyle and West Ham believe in that anyway, so not surprising that we've seen plenty of action and incident, although as yet no goals. People said the Charlton fans wouldn't come to support them at Selhurst Park, but they're making enough noise, certainly on my side of the ground, in the Arthur Waite stand. There's obstruction initially by Reid on Ward. Do it with the kick. Here's Flanagan. Offside. It's Rob Lee who was caught. It's away by Tender. Nice touch by Ward to Dickens. McAvenny. And again. Stewart. Devonshire's made his way into the penalty area.
Well, even though the pitch is obviously playable, it still is in the middle of the field, cutting up quite a lot. This doesn't really help West Ham, who like to play the ball on the floor, play the ball directly to players like McAvenny and Cotty up front. And that is giving Charlton Athletic that little chance to just nip the ball and get forward a little bit more quickly than West Ham would like to see them. But it's a very competitive game, and anybody can win it at the present time. Very hard to pick a winner. I think at the end of the day, physical strength might have a bearing.
Tender heading it back. And he's certainly not short of physical strength. And neither is Pearson, who's underneath this. Here's Kirbishley. Flanagan coming towards it, flicked it on. Pearson's there as well. Martin's header out. Back by Grit. Reid. The early release of the ball from Parks to Ward, a well-rehearsed West Ham ploy. And Ward trying to take them all on. Outnumbered. But he's made quite an impression since coming from Oldham Athletic, only about 5'6". Number 7. On by Kirbishley, who's, as usual, shown some good touches on the ball. Here's Grit. Oh, nice play by Alvin Martin. Devonshire lost it though. Here's Kirbishley. I've had Pearson stretching a bit. Now Ward. Cotty over on the left, McAvenny on the right. Crisp, competitive stuff, as you might expect in a cup tie between two near neighbours. Stewart on to Cotty, and now Paris, wide to Devonshire. Cotty laying it back. McAvenny is still down on the ground, having been hurt in the previous advance down the right wing, but the referee is allowing play to go on with Flanagan. He fell awkwardly there, Frank McAvenny, and it's the left knee that appears to be giving him some pain. He's already signalled to the bench, and he'll go off the field of play for the moment. And the West Ham physio, Rob Jenkins, will have to make a long journey round to attend to him. Here's Flanagan as West Ham now reduced temporarily to 10 men. This is Dickens. Here's Martin. Gale to Devonshire. Cotty. And again. Gale still forward. And Ward is coming in, Reid with the header. Cotty. Hazelwood. McAvenny is now receiving treatment off the pitch. Here's Devonshire. Cotty. "19 goals for West Ham and 1 for Scotland this season. Here's Hazelwood. Nice ball, he's got Reid chasing here, and Reid couldn't make anything of it. News coming in from Goodison Park. Still 0-0 between Everton and Exeter City. And it's still 0-0 here at Selhurst Park between Charlton of the second division in the red and West Ham in white from Division 1. We have 13 minutes left in the first half, and the main concern for West Ham is the fitness of Frank McAvenny, who is still receiving treatment. Stewart. Really ploughing through that heavy area in the middle of the field, but Charlton again well organised. Here's Humphrey. Devonshire to Dickens. Foul. Thompson left Dickens on the ground. Jeff Pike has been warming up in case Frank McAvenny can't resume. Here's Devonshire. Tackle is by Kirbishley. And driven in well there, and my word, Steve Walford coming up from left back. Got onto his right side, but it was well worth the try. Normally noted for his left foot, Steve Walford, but that was a good attempt. And in the meantime, Frank McAvenny has hobbled back onto the pitch. Corner to West Ham. Ward to take it. And Alvin Martin's there again. So West Ham back to the full complement. Although McAvenny is still feeling the injury, obviously. Stewart. Cotty. Referee was close enough to see that wasn't intentional by John Pender. Here's Walford. Humphrey. John Lyle, the West Ham manager, is down on the bench now on the right of the picture. Nick McGibbon checks his watch. They'll obviously be concerned about how well McAvenny's recovered from that knock. 10 minutes left in the first half. 0-0. Charlton in possession with Rob Lee. Nice turn. And Grit. All a bit of a tangle. This is Pearson, the referee's blown. A free kick to West Ham. Bobby Charlton, who have you got ahead on points here so far?
Well, either side can win. It's very, very well poised, the match. I do feel somehow or other that the Charlton midfield players do get up and support the forward players a lot quicker than the West Ham people do. West Ham seem to have them in a little bit of trouble when they get on when they have some cross balls, some dead ball kicks. But in situations like this, Charlton Athletic are very, very dangerous.
And the foul was by Stewart on Flanagan. And we'll see how dangerous they can be from this free kick. Pearson and Thompson are positioned over on the far side of the penalty area. Kirbishley to take it. West Ham have coped well in the air so far, and on the break it's Dickens. And Tony Gale has come herring out of defence up on the left wing. Looking for the return to Dickens. Pearson, good touch. Flanagan. Two there to block it. But Flanagan again. And there's nobody out here for Charlton. Selhurst Park, a fairly spacious stadium, carved almost out of a hillside here in southeast London. That's the Holmesdale Road end, where the Charlton fans would normally stand, but the West Ham fans are mostly there today. Here's Grit. Kirbishley. Walford's header. FA Cup third round between these London clubs. No score. It's a useful cross, and it's going to come to Hazelwood. Here's Pearson. Gale. Flags up. There's an offside there. Well, it's been rumbustious stuff in this first half. Hard to say whether either side really has had the edge. They've had their moments, certainly at both ends. As yet, neither goalkeeper having to pick the ball out of the net, although there have been some anxious times for each of them. Paris. And here's Reid. That's too long. Perhaps the most anxious moment when Phil Parkes saw two of his defenders almost contrive an own goal after he'd only been able to parry a shot by Hazelwood. 5 minutes left in the first half. Always a good time to score. Here's Reid. Pearson calling over on the far side for the long cross. Oh, it was driven by Reid, and Parkes had to get a hand to that. Wasn't taken by surprise, although Reid did the unexpected there. He went for the near side, and Parkes turned it over. It's a corner to Charlton. Pearson coming towards it. So too was Kerbishley. Goal kick given.
When you see Robert Lee coming down, breaking down on the left-hand side of the field, number 8 on the red, that is, he does create some problems. The right-hand side of the field, you know, I feel that Ray Stewart is having a little bit of a trouble, and he's a bit overworked by these players that are overlapping. And the situations that they're getting themselves in, West Ham must be giving them some concern. Certainly Joel Lyle must be worried at the good chances that have fallen Charlton's way and the way that they're coming unmarked from midfield.
Coping with Pearson. Free kick to West Ham, a foul by Hazelwood on Dickens. That's Ward, Stewart. Harris. Little hurried, and this is Hazelwood now for Charlton, with Humphrey to his right, the full-back, and Devonshire's got to make the challenge. Thompson, Hazelwood. Again, Charlton trying to play their football, but in that muddy midfield area, it's sometimes difficult, and the more direct approach, perhaps, in these conditions, is what's required. Very heavy in there. Ward. Harris. Devonshire, Cotty, now Paris. Oh, well run by Lee from Walford. But Walford quick enough to recover. One of the hallmarks of his game, but Robert Lee certainly showing up well in this first half. Cotty. In there. Flanagan. Now Reid. Lee and Pearson are waiting. Driven by Reid again, that's twice he's gone for power from that angle. Rather than for the more anticipated chipped cross. We're in the last minute of the first half here at Selhurst Park in this live FA Cup third round tie. It's Charlton 0, West Ham 0. Devonshire for West Ham. Dickens, Cotty ahead of him, number 10. Could take on John Pender here. He's got Ward to his right if he needs him. Again, good length on the kick from Nicky Johns, but once more Alvin Martin relishing the battle with John Pearson. Use of the elbows there, though, means that the free kick goes in Charlton's favour. Now, right at the end of the first half, the second division team on the attack. They pushed Pender forward to join Pearson on the edge of the penalty area. Hazelwood or Kirbishley could fancy a shot from here. Kirbishley chipped it instead, and it was harmless. Alan Kirbishley so keen to do well against his old colleagues, but at half-time there's nothing to choose between the promotion contenders from Division 2 and the Championship challengers from the First Division. Possibly the talking point towards the end of the first half, how badly Frank McAvenny hurt his left knee in that incident on the near touchline. John Pender was the defender who went in, played the ball in fairness. McAvenny, I think, fell awkwardly and certainly was in some pain and needed some treatment. But as he goes off at half-time, doubtless to check on that injury, the score here at Selhurst Park in the FA Cup third round is Charlton Athletic 0, West Ham 0.
Yes, no goals, but a lot of excitement. And Jimmy, I think you're quite happy with your men out there, Charlton.
Well, they're doing quite well. It's like my mum's front room. Not a lot in it, but at half-time, I mean, either side could have had their chances, we've all seen. But I think Charlton don't quite believe that they can win the game. I think those odd balls running around the goal mouth, if they believed they were going to score, somebody would have been on the end of those going in to do it. So all they need is confidence to complete the thing in the second half. Trevor,
I know Trevor said early on, 2 bits of early luck we had, Jimmy. I think it's going to be our day.
That's right. I think in cup games you need a little bit of luck. We had a couple of once when it came off Phil Parkes, and then Alvin played a 1-2 off Stevie Walford and went right across the goal. And then there was another one as well later on where Stevie Walford missed his kick and it just happened to bounce to Alan Devonshire. And you need those little bits of luck, and that's why I'm still hopeful. Although I must admit Charlton had the edge first half.
Well, you've mentioned 2 or 3 incidents there. We're going to talk about them in more detail in a few moments, but plenty of incident in this first half. Sit back and let's enjoy some of the highlights again.
Kirbishley. And Flanagan's there again. Hazelwood, he can hit them from distance. And Lee's in there, tucked back, and, oh goodness me, Alvin Martin kicked the ball against Steve Walford, and how it wasn't an own goal, I'll never know. It's a corner. Extraordinary. And it all happened because Parkes couldn't hold the shot by Hazelwood. It came loose to Robert Lee. Pearson was hoping. Martin against Walford, and across the line. McAvenny, good turn. That's useful. Dickens was in there. The header by Alan Dickens. Play on. West Ham had the ball. Paris. Now McAvenny. Up against Humphrey. Intelligent play. Stewart shots. Nicky Johns made a fine save. I rather feel there may have even been an earlier deflection before it got as far as him. Stewart blasted it. Well, certainly there was a defender in front of him, but Johns saved it.
Plenty for us to talk about here at Selhurst Park, but just before we do that, remember there's a cup tie going on at Goodison Park. Everton, last year's beaten finalists against 4th Division Exeter. I think there's about 20 minutes left now, so let's join Barry Davis and find out what's happening there.
Exactly right, Bob. 20 minutes left. The score is still 0-0. And I don't want to take anything away from the 4th Division side, who have done some 1,000 Devonian supporters proud, those who travelled up here from the far west. And indeed, we've seen some good things from Keong, from Ling, and from the goalkeeper, John Shaw. But Everton really haven't played very well. They've played to the 4th Division side's strengths, knocking in the long ball, playing at a pace which they shouldn't be playing at. They should be exerting their superiority, and they're not. And really, they've had all the chances. They've had nearly 20 corners in the game so far, but their finishing hasn't been very good, and they might have been even more embarrassed if the captain of the Exeter side, Alan Crawford, had shown rather less timidity with the one good chance he had halfway through the first half. 90 minutes to go, and another chance has just gone begging for Everton. Gary Lineker puts his head in his hands, but it's still 0-0, 19 minutes left here.
No goals at Goodison, no goals here at Selhurst Park, and while that report's been on, dramatic news from the dressing room. Frank McAvenny is under fairly intensive treatment. He's twisted an ankle and his knee. Now, Trevor, that's bad news to say the least.
Yes, I think you could see actually how it happened in that particular incident, because Frank is just going to control the ball here, and you've got to look at his standing foot, his left one. He's putting his weight on that, and it just wraps it between Pender's legs as he goes down, and I think he's twisted it. His body went forward, but the leg stayed there, and it's a combination apparently with the ankle and the knee, and of course Frankie's relies a lot on his acceleration and his speed. I mean, he's been well marked today, but that's going to be difficult if he can't sort of get that acceleration.
Just looking on the black side, say Frank doesn't come out.
Yes.
How serious is that going to affect you, thinking of his substitute?
Yes. Well, we got Jeff Pike, and what will happen when Frankie went to Australia, Alan Dickens, who's been playing midfield today, he'll push up front. He did well actually in the game when Frankie was missing, and he'll be quite at home there. And Jeff Pike is a natural midfield player. He'll come in and take Dicko's place in the midfield area.
Right, now let's move on to the game, Jim. And the moment when you did exactly what you've just done there, you were on the edge of your seat, that ball that went across the goal mouth and looked so much as if it was going to be a goal for Charlton.
Well, it did, and it was rather a nice move. I mean, I was sort of thrilling at this move. We all know as sort of supporters of clubs how pleasant it is when your own side appears to be doing something like this. You know, calm on the ball, nicely developed move. You're actually passing to each other, you see, which is quite exciting, really, when you're in a tie like this. And from this situation, there's the left foot cross, which causes all the problem. Bouncing out again.
We're looking.
That wasn't quite the move. You led me into that
that's
move.
That's right. I've read you into it. We're looking there at the Charlton move, but this is the one we're looking for, Jimmy.
This is the one. The
Mark Hazelwood shot.
And I must admit, Mr. Parks there would have been disappointed, although it did bump up, that he didn't get that first time. But look, here it is from a marvellous angle, actually, and you can see, Trevor, how near John Pearson was to put in Charlton.
The West Ham lads knew exactly what was going on there, and Alvin decided to play it off Stevie Walford's knee.
That was the moment, Trevor, when you suddenly turned around and said, that's 2 bits of luck.
That's right.
And it must be our day, but...
he's now changed his tune. He says it's cultured West Ham football.
I'm so impressed by Mark Hazelwood, and he's featured in this. But as Jimmy said, I'm a little bit surprised at Parksy here. I expect him to hold this.
Yeah, you see it bounces a couple of times, and goalkeepers don't like those, and he's worried about it going underneath, and he stopped it with his hands rather than let it come in with his body. And he's done a lap of honour on the floor there before getting up. And there's Alvin, plays it off to go the other way, hits Stevie Walford, and somehow I don't think the lad Pearson
he didn't anticipate West Ham's cultured football in the goal mouth. How could you expect him to anticipate that?
There's a near miss there at the West Ham end, but of course there was one at the other end, and it involved Frank McAvenny, who's been under treatment, and it's a nice little move. And I think what's interesting here is that when it finishes up with Ray Stewart, who's known for his right foot, Trevor, it finishes with a left foot shot.
Yes. Well, I must admit, I think everyone would have been ducking behind the goal there, because Ray with his left foot is a bit unreliable, but he hit that great. I think it did take a slight deflection, and really Nicky Johns was at full stretch to push it wide. But Ray's got a terrific shot. I mean, his nickname is Tonka, because he hits his passes and his shots just the same. When he catches one, I mean, they do go.
It would be a tragedy, really, not only for West Ham for football, if McAvenny has got a serious knee injury, because there aren't that many stars around these days, and when you have one, I mean, I'm really, although it's against Charlton, I'm looking forward that he comes out in the second half. I want to see him play because he's exciting. You know, wouldn't like to win without McAvenny. Put it another way.
All right, that's 45 minutes now. What do you like to see now coming out the second half, Jimmy?
I think they are going to be bogged down both sides by that centre of the pitch just a little bit. I mean, it's perfectly playable and quite good on the wing.
They're quite heavily on the middle of the pitch at the moment, aren't they?
I mean, it's not that bad. We've played football on a million times worse pitches than that in the past, but I think both sides could well use the wings. When Charlton have used that left flank, which Bobby Charlton mentioned in the first half, we've looked quite dangerous with Mark Reed getting down there with his natural left foot, and we've got a few left-footed players on that side to put over crosses. So I think if we can get it wide to the wings, you know, to the left wing particularly, get those crosses in and have confidence, then Trevor is going to look miserable and not smart.
That's Charlton's plan of attack. Trevor?
Well, I think you know, we're going to run a risk if we sit back and look for the replay. We've got to go at Charlton. I think the last 20 minutes we were sitting back a little bit. Obviously, Frankie's injury curtailed us a little bit, but we've got to watch the two fullbacks. I like the lad Mark Reed. If he showed a little bit more composure in good positions rather than whacking it across, hopefully, we could have been in a lot more trouble. And I think perhaps we could try and get our two fullbacks supporting Alan Devon, Mark Ward, who are our two wide lads as well.
Very interesting, just looking before we go back to John Motson at goal attempts in the first half. Charlton 10 attempts at goal and West Ham 6, which would just suggest that Charlton have had an edge there. Jimmy?
I know you're trying to be kind to me and all that, but it's still 0-0, and it's only those that go in that really count at the end of the day. So we should sit here arguing with each other and smiling at each other, even if things go wrong.
Yeah, well, there's smashing spirit here, smashing spirit out there on the field as well. Time to go back to Bobby Charlton and John Motson.
Yes, the cup tradition of these two clubs is well chronicled, and I referred earlier on to Charlton in 1947. It's a little piece of television history too, because that year their fifth round tie against Blackburn Rovers was televised. I'm told it was the first FA Cup tie ever to be screened, and today against this West Ham side, Charlton are the first club back on, as it were, with live television, and those watching will be pleased that Frank McAvenny has reappeared for the second half. West Ham, who won the cup 3 times in the post-war period, 64, 75 and 1980. Bobby Charlton, as a former cup winner yourself, do you see if they could get through this hurdle, West Ham, as a possible cup bet for this season?
Well, they're recognised as a good cup team, and I certainly would say, yeah, they have a reasonable chance. I think they, at half-time when they were sitting in the dressing room, they probably be thinking of the cup final was a very, very long way off. Unless they got their act together, like Trevor Brookins says, for the last 20 minutes they seemed to sit back on the laurels and hope that that the defence would get them out of any trouble that they would get in. But they looked under a lot of pressure in the last 20 minutes. I've no doubt they'll have had a little bit of a tongue wagging from John Lyle, and I think that they'll compete just as they did in the first part of the initial half. But nevertheless, when I look at Charlton Athletic, I think of them as a second division side who are on the threshold of possibly coming up into the big time, and I can see why they've done it. They have very, very good professional players who compete well, they fight well, they support one another, they're not frightened to experiment. I mean, when Mark Reed comes down the left-hand side of the field, I think possibly he may think a little bit more, like Trevor said, but nevertheless, they're tremendous balls to hit in and very difficult for defenders. And I think that they'll be pumped up and ready for this next 45 minutes and looking forward to it with a great deal of pleasure.
Am I right in thinking, Bobby, that Charlton Athletic figured rather prominently in your very early days at Manchester United, a famous match you played when you were very young?
That's right. My first match for Manchester United in the league was against Charlton Athletic, yes. Fortunately scored a couple as well. But looking at the teams now, you know, the way that they're dressed, etc., you know, fashions have changed, haven't they, since those days?
OK, they certainly have, but the game hopefully is still as popular with the committed supporter as it was then. And certainly inside Selhurst Park this afternoon, there's no lack of excitement, because the FA Cup third round tends to be, I think, the favourite weekend for many a football fan. Always the possibility of a surprise. And Bobby Charlton referring to Charlton's long spell in the second division. Indeed, they lost their first division status back in 1957. West Ham on the attack. And Thompson goes across to cover for Charlton. Understand that Everton have made the breakthrough at Goodison Park. Gary Stevens has put them in front against Exeter, 1-0 to Everton. Here's McAvenny for West Ham. No sign of the injury there, and John Pender forced to cover hurriedly. Hotty in on the goalkeeper, and a goal kick, I would imagine. 10 minutes to go at Goodison Park. And Everton leading by 1-0.
Ward. Now it's Flanagan. Ward again.
That's going towards Cotty, but Nicky Johns comfortably off his line. Pearson again putting his head in. It's quite a battle, that, between John Pearson and Alvin Martin. Came off Thompson. West Ham fans at that end hoping for something now. Devonshire with the throw. McAvenny seems to be moving quite freely after the treatment. He's forced a corner off Hazelwood. Tony Gale has gone into the 6-yard box. Alvin Martin is waiting much, much deeper for Devonshire's kick. Little Cotty's there. What's been said about McAvenny, but Tony Cotty's scoring record, he's only 20 now, but he's been the top scorer at Upton Park for the last 2 seasons with 19 and 24 respectively, and 12 so far this season. He's been playing for the England under-21s. Sharp finisher. Lee. Now Paris. That's Pender, hoping that the ball will run. Famous West Ham song, I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles. It's echoed around Wembley a few times. The afternoon perhaps just getting a little colder now. Martin to Walford. You could never say this was a defensive game, but it should be said that both these clubs have tightened up their defences considerably this season. One of the reasons why they're both near the top of their respective divisions. But what can Cotty do, I wonder about that. Lost his footing. Devonshire. Kirby's his interception. Oh, that's nicely done. Flanagan's made the run across to collect. Here's Grit in support. Pearson's over on the far side, but that won't reach him. Forward by Pender. Now Hazelwood. John Pender's first real mistake. He was perhaps waiting for a call from behind him, maybe from the keeper, but he let that go, and it bounced for McAvenny, and he lofted it over Nicky Johns and over the bar. Relief for John Pender. Disappointment for Frank McAvenny. spur on Charlton. Grit. Tony Gale always looks to have time in those tight areas. That's Thompson. Now Grit and Lee and Humphrey looking for Pearson, and that one reached him. It was Reed, and now Kirbishley. Match being played in a very good spirit. There's hardly been a foul worthy of the name. Cotty. And Hazelwood depriving Dickens. Good combative midfield play, that. Flanagan helping it on to Reed. And there's some very good touches about this Charlton side. Flanagan. Header away was by Gale. We're talking about the West Ham sub, Jeff Pike, but on the Charlton bench there's a lad there called Mark Stewart, who's 19 years old, second from the right, who's got a bit of a habit of coming on as a sub and making an impact. And if it stays 0-0, just wonder if Lenny Lawrence and Eddie May, his assistant, might thrust him on. That's all in the future. For the present, it's Ward. And Cotty's in there, and it ran on just too far for him. That was close. Here's Walford and Devonshire. Away by Humphrey. Lee's touch only finding Stewart, and there'll be an offside there against Devonshire. Sky there, almost in football colours, if you like, claret and blue. I don't know whether that's an omen or not. West Ham in their change strip today, but certainly a typical January scene on an English ground. A gruelling cut tie, 10 minutes gone in the second half. Charlton 0, West Ham 0. And as our experts were saying at half-time, nothing much between them. Charlton with the more goal attempts, perhaps. But in the second half, McAvenny had the clearest chance when he got through behind Pender. And Pender is now forward for this free kick for Charlton, taken by Thompson. And there's Pearson, and Flanagan trying to latch onto it. Hazelwood! Well, here's a man who cracked a shot himself in his time, Bobby Charlton.
Well, these sort of third-round cup ties take me back to when we used to have to play second division sides, and the one thing I used to find, and most first division players used to agree, is that they sometimes ran out of steam, second division sides. I think it's probably the quality of the opposition that you have to play every week or whatever, but fitness seems to play a big part, especially at this sort of gruelling match and on this sort of gruelling pitch. But nevertheless, Charlton still Charlton still doing very, very well indeed, and as long as the match goes on, the more they'll think that they've got a chance, and probably the more apprehensive West Ham will become. They might even get a little frantic, because they are expected to win this match when all's said and done. But as I said in the first half, still very, very evenly poised, but still a great credit to all the professionals on the field there. Every one of them's competing very, very well. Good professional players, and they'll be pleased with their overall performance. But they'll feel a lot better if they've won the match as well.
Well, gruelling's a word we've used, but we ought to say, I think, that the pitch has proved itself eminently playable. Compliment again to Len Chatterton and the ground staff here. And Crystal Palace will be hoping they can play here against Luton Town tomorrow evening. But for the moment, it's still Charlton West Ham, and it's Flanagan. Here's Lee. Well, Charlton had plenty of players forward in that attack, and again the long throw would appear to be on. Steve Gritt. Pearson moving across the penalty area. And once more Gritt, and now Humphrey. Oh, well played back to Humphrey, and the deflection was off Walford. It was Kirbyshly's pass through. Hazelwood, Alvin Martin, Paris. Oh, good stuff from West Ham too in defence. Played their way out of trouble. Nice first-time football, and it can go on still. McAvenny out to Ward. You could almost count the passes there. Three waiting in the centre. And what a disappointing finish to that attack by Mark Ward. After all the good football that was played before that. We hear that Everton are through to the fourth round of the competition. Here's Lee for Charlton. Walford. Final score at Goodison Park, Everton 1, Exeter City 0. The only goal coming 10 minutes from the end by Gary Stevens. So Everton into the fourth round draw, which is being made tomorrow lunchtime. Wonder which of these two sides will join them, or indeed whether they'll have to fight it out again at Upton Park next Wednesday. Score 0-0. Pender has moved forward again to support Pearson. And in goes Pearson, and Walford and Lee trying to make room for the shot, Rob Lee. And West Ham scramble the ball away a little untidily, but only as far as Paris, and now Cottee and Thompson. Hazelwood. That's Tony Gale all over that. Many players would have passed back to the keeper there, but he wanted to get on with it. Here's Reid. And the left back comes crashing down, and that's Mark Ward who will be spoken to. First time Brian Hill has had to lecture any of the players. A measure of the good spirit in which the match has been played. Or the first hour of it anyway. Here's Hazelwood. Turned it in to Lee. Good effort. Oh, unlucky. He held his head there, did Rob Lee. That was close. Here's Gritt for Charlton. Oh, and Parks fists it out, and here's Flanagan on the left foot, which is normally more accurate than that. But the first incident belonged to Rob Lee. After his shot had flown across the goal, the ball came back to Flanagan, who shot wide. But it was Lee earlier who'd almost punctured the defence, or he did really, and didn't quite get the shot inside the far post. Handball. Thompson. The game is warming up again. West Ham have the free kick. Stewart and Ward, the players nearer to the ball. Stewart with the chip. Alvin Martin with the header back. And Gritt with the clearance. Well, Thompson not taking any chances. The Charlton captain. It's going to be Devonshire with the corner. And here comes Alvin Martin again. And it's going to come to Dickens. Gritt with the header out. And then Kirbishley. And Hazelwood's given it away to Cotty. Lucky for him that no more came of that. Pearson, Lee. Flanagan's to his left if he can find him. There are three in the middle. Pearson, Kirbishley, Gritt. George Parrish has done a steady job in midfield in his first cup tie, just concentrated on the simple things. Here's Gale. Dickens. Devonshire's got through an awful lot of work, and most of it defensive actually on this side. Here's Kirbishley across to Reid, and Charlton have pushed four men well forward here. One of them is Flanagan. Kirbishley. Reid continues his run. That's Ward back with him. The two wide men have had to go back and defend because Charlton have pressed them into their own half. Foul. Thompson on McAvenny. Walford. That might find Cotty. McAvenny and Dickens waiting in the centre. Again, nice play by Hazelwood. He has looked at an important presence for Charlton. Flanagan looking for Lee. He's got a command and a style about him in that midfield position, Mark Hazelwood, showing qualities of leadership as well. Here he is again, finding Kirbishley, who's also done well. And a good ball, Humphrey. And Gritt's in a good position here, number 7! John Humphrey, a very good ball. And Charlton put together their best move of the afternoon. But it's West Ham on the attack almost at once. Devonshire finding Ward. This is Cotty. Wouldn't run for him. Charlton here with perhaps the scent of a goal now in their nostrils after that last flying save by Parks. Here's Lee. And it's come off George Parrish. Can he save it? No. Corner. Phil Parks made there what could prove to be a most important save. But Charlton have the corner, and they've got Pender and Thompson over on the far side, and Pearson at the near post looking for the flick on. And Parks came for it successfully. Curvishly. And they're still well forward as Reed punched the ball back in, but the only time Charlton have beaten West Ham since the war, the only goal in the game was scored by Steve Gritt back in 1979, and just then he must have thought he was going to do the same thing again. He got his header in, but he was denied by a fine save. Hazelwood. So a free kick to Charlton. Halfway through the second half of this London derby in the FA Cup third round, still Charlton 0, West Ham 0, as Reed takes the free kick for Charlton. And up goes Flanagan. Positioned, and he allowed John Pender to play on. Hazelwood. Here's Gritt. Humphrey. Oh, the back heel didn't quite come off from Hazelwood. Gale. Now Ray Stewart's begun to pull out on the right-hand side and support Mark Ward. Offside against Lee. And the Charlton fans still talking about that last attack when they must have thought they were going to take the lead. Curvishly played the ball wide to Humphrey, and the man to watch for was Gritt coming through from midfield with the header. Parks actually maybe not as difficult to save from that angle as it looked the first time. Dickens trying a shot. Mind you, I should imagine there was a little bit of concern on the West Ham bench, because certainly they let Gritt through unmarked there. Foul. Pender on McAvenny. And they've kept him fairly quiet, apart from that one moment that he got in behind Pender. Harris. This is Curvishly. Bringing a bit of a save out of Mickey Johns to prevent the corner. Is Gritt, leaving it for Hazelwood, who tends to direct things now from this Charlton midfield, looking for Humphrey. Devonshire again, funneling back, doing the defensive job. Steve Walford coming forward. Here's Devonshire. Free kick. Played towards McAvenny. Here comes Gale into the attack. And now Paris. West Ham may feel their goal supply has dried up a little bit. They didn't score in either of their previous 2 league games, although they were away to Luton and Spurs. Haven't managed to break through today. But then neither up to now have Charlton. Here's Devonshire. And Thompson took a risk and Cotty's in. And Reid able to clear without challenge. Thompson made the initial error, but Tony Cotty doing awfully well to get it away from Nicky Johns. Didn't have much option then, really. If he was going to go for goal, he had to go from an impossible angle, and there was no West Ham player in the middle. But they do have a corner. And there's Martin battling it out with Thompson again. Stewart out again to Ward. And his service from the right wing, a little disappointing. Bobby Charlton.
Well, I think that a few players have just shown a little bit of fatigue now, and you can see that in mistakes being made. When Big Steve Thompson passed that ball back, really, you know, it was in a little bit of discomfort, and he did the first thing that came to his mind without actually thinking about it, and it put his team under an unbelievable bit of pressure. Nevertheless, West Ham going forward now a lot better than they were initially in this half, but at the same time, a very still well-poised match.
And here's Flanagan for Charlton. Replay, as I was saying, is scheduled for Upton Park on Wednesday if they can't settle it today. With Gale. And Gale's given it straight to Hazelwood. Pearson's pulling away in the centre. This is Kirbishley. Humphrey is moving up from right back, pursued by Cotty. Kirbishley again. Humphrey. Thompson. West Ham throw. The linesmen this afternoon, Graham Crafter and John Carter, using the new multicoloured flags. Here's Hazelwood. Cup-tie flavour, and the match has been played in that well-known, forceful cup-tie spirit. A lot of strong, honest challenging for the ball. Not too many clear-cut scoring chances. But with 15 minutes to go, we know only too well that many a cup-tie has been settled by one moment of inspiration. I wonder if it'll happen here. This is Humphrey. And Pearson's over on the far side, away by Ward. West Ham had pulled 10 players back then to defend. Kept in by Hazelwood. Pearson is up with Gale. Devonshire. Walford. Devonshire. Oh, it's sweet stuff, that, even on a difficult surface. Here's Paris. McAvenny. Martin. Now Gale. So here at Selhurst Park, it's still 0-0 between these two London sides in the FA Cup third round. Price trying to get McAvenny through the middle. Cotty's closing in from this side, but the Charlton defenders have coped well. It's Pearson's header. And it's backing in the offence on Steve Welford by Alan Kirbishley. Alan Kirbishley, who's billed for tickets for this match, came to something over £150. He had so many friends and relatives who wanted to see the game, so that's put some money in the coffers of these clubs. Here's Grit, and now Humphrey, and Grit again, and Pearson wants it driven along. He's coming in now. And a corner because Alvin Martin got there in front of him. A corner to Charlton. Pearson still a threat in the air, but Alvin Martin just the man perhaps to cope with him. Flanagan will take the corner. Thompson's in there, and so was Grit. That's a goal kick. I was talking about Charlton and finance a moment ago. It's incredible to think that less than 2 years ago, Charlton Athletic were in the hands of the official receiver and were within about half an hour of being wound up in the High Court. You may remember that time, and they escaped. They were taken over by a new company. They've moved grounds, and here they are battling it out with the First Division side from East London, hoping Charlton to be in the First Division themselves next year. Here's Lee. And Martin to clear as far as Gale. And then Ward and Stewart. Pender is still so close to McAvenny, he hasn't given him a yard, except on that one occasion early in the second half. Stewart forced to turn by Robert Lee. Charlton fans then hoping for something here as Hazelwood prepares to take the throw. Pearson trotting across towards him, but it was dropped short. Now Reed. Oh, and Paris missed it. Flanagan didn't get hold of it. Moment of admiration from George Paris, but Flanagan won't be too pleased with the shot. No complaints from Parks, though. Cotty's header. Thompson's clearance for Charlton. Martin again. Hazelwood. Flanagan. Outside him, the fullback Reed overlapping. And played back in for Kirbishley. There's a nice variety about Charlton's play. Certainly isn't predictable because Reed there chose another option, and that was just to play the ball back inside to the midfield man.
I think you can sense now that West Ham are thinking possibly about a replay on Wednesday. In the middle of the field, the Charlton Athletic have certainly got a grip of things now, and they're creating many more chances.
And Charlton also get the free kick. Yes, Charlton know this is their chance to win it, really, here at Selhurst Park, and they've got to push on. Forward by Thompson. Goal kick. It's Martin. Stewart. Oh, Martin now finds himself on the right wing. He's played ever so well. He's found Ward. McAvenny's trying to get away from Pender again, and that hasn't proved easy. Here's Hazelwood. And Kerbishley. Britt's pulled away down the right wing. There are 3 others further forward. One of them was Pearson. Flanagan. Again he feeds Reed. And still Reed. And it comes off Ward, and that's a corner to Charlton. With 8 minutes to go. Paris's header, that's a shot by Gritt. Went through a crowd of players, but no great power. Limbs tiring now, I would think, on that heavy pitch. Oh, a mistake by Hazelwood. Cotty almost in. McAvenny. Charlton got away with it. And Humphrey. And a good run by Kerbishley from midfield. That was Lee, back to Gritt. Charlton now pushing forward, as they've got to do in these closing minutes, looking for the win. This is Lee. Good cross by Lee. Flanagan. Lee, who provided the cross. Just breaking away beyond Steve Walford there. Flanagan was the first player in for Charlton. Pearson was lurking behind, and clash of heads. But Robert Lee, progressive on the right-hand side. A foul by Pender. Martin will take the kick, and Britt will head it clear as far as Gale, and then Humphrey. Flags up actually on this side of the field, the ball presumably over the line. That's Graham Crafter from Maidstone, the linesman there, who was flagging for a throw-in. We've got 5 minutes to go here. Cotty to McAvenny and back again. Humphrey is chasing him though. Nicky Johns coming to save the corner. Actually, Nicky will be quite pleased if he keeps a clean sheet here, because I remember he was in goal for Millwall when we saw them lose 6-1 in FA Cup tie a few years ago to Ipswich. Reed. Pearson. That was a nice layoff. Here's John Humphrey. Owen Parks just holding on as Kerbishley challenged. John Humphrey had the shot, and it was well worth the try. What, 25 yards? Phil Parks failing to hold it first time. Charlton, who's been delaying the knee operation, which he's going to have to face sometime, certainly in commanding form. And Lenny Lawrence, the Charlton manager, in the centre there in the light raincoat. 3 minutes left, and his second division team still locked at 0-0 with West Ham in this all-London third-round tie. And a miscue by Humphrey, and McAvenny. Can he do it? It looks as though it's going in for Tony Cottee. West Ham score with 2 minutes to go. It was John Humphrey's miscue, and it put them in all sorts of trouble. McAvenny lobbed the goalkeeper, and inside the 6-yard box, Tony Cottee on hand to score his 13th goal of the season, and it looks like being unlucky for Charlton. McAvenny stole away there from Thompson, got the ball over Nicky Johns, and that's where strikers have got to be, in the 6-yard box to finish it off, as Cottee did then. The Holmesdale Road end, where the West Ham fans are, celebrates the goal that looks like taking West Ham into the 4th round. Can Charlton steal it back in the last minute or so? Really a bit unlucky for Humphrey, because that sliced clearance changed the direction of the attack, and McAvenny has again played a part in a most important West Ham goal. Having lobbed too high when he had his chance to score, to the delight of those supporters, he lobbed Johns this time, and Lenny Lawrence can only reflect on a battle well fought, but a battle which at the moment looks as though it might be lost to John Lyall's First Division side. We're in the last minute. And the West Ham song ringing round Selhurst Park as the match comes to an exciting climax here. Devonshire, McAvenny's away again. And Nicky Johns throws the ball out to John Humphrey, and time is against Charlton. Pearson's pulled away to the far side. Here's Kirbishley. And there is Pearson. And Gritz following up. It was back by Ward. And West Ham were certainly, as Bobby Charlton said, beginning to think about the replay. But they may have settled this tie at the first time of asking. We are in time that referee Hill is adding on for stoppages. And there wasn't much of that. West Ham United go through. Lenny Lawrence congratulates John Lyall. And Tony Cottee's goal 2 minutes from the end is enough to beat second division Charlton in a stirring FA Cup tie in which Frank McAvenny missed perhaps his best chance of scoring, but certainly made the opportunity which Cottee gratefully accepted for the winning goal. The match played in sporting fashion. The players have poured it off before an appreciative audience, certainly here in the ground, and I hope so at home too. West Ham into tomorrow's 4th round draw. Charlton, who've shown their pedigree here, left to concentrate on their fight to win promotion to the First Division. A quick word from Bobby Charlton.
Well, a little sorry really that Charlton by that one mistake in the back pass gave them the chance that won the match for them. They competed very well, like you said, John, and they can be well proud with the performance in this match. But West Ham had the look on the day, and they took the one chance when it was there begging, and at the end of the day that's what winning the cup is all about, getting that little bit of luck.
So the final score at Selhurst Park: Charlton Athletic 0, West Ham United 1.
Well, there's a real cup tie for you. Great drama at the end there. And Jimmy, I'm sorry, but I know you just can't hide your disappointment. There's a smile there, but it's hard for you.
Well, it is, because it was at the end given away on a mistake rather than a good bit of football, which is the disappointment. But very proud of the way the team played today. In fact, both teams, they played it as the game should be played. It was like old times. There was a nice spirit, and only one side can go through. That's life, you know, at the end of the day, and we accept it, and we wish Trevor and his lads the best of luck on their route to Wembley.
And let's look at the goal. A couple of minutes from the end, Trevor, that did it for your lads. Jimmy said it was an error. It was an error, of course. John Humphrey, wasn't it, with a miscue?
Well, he tried to volley it away with his left foot there, and it's just lobbed over. And Thompson has just got a yard behind. Frankie Mack just lunges, loops in, and Tony Cotty, who follows in on everything, as you saw with a couple of the back passes. There he is, and I think even Tony wouldn't have worried about missing from there.
I think the extraordinary thing there, Trevor, is that Frank McAvenny, we said about the injury, we said that he'd been fairly quiet. He popped up there, and of course he did have a chance, didn't he, early in the second half, when really we expected him to do...
I mean, this is the mark of a good goal scorer. You know, here he is. He should have really tucked that one in. He lifted it again as the goalkeeper come out, but he's just leant back and lunged a bit, and he's gone over the crossbar. But he has 3 or 4 of those in the whole game. He had one early on in the game near post, but he's always going to have chances. Even if he's quiet, you'll think to yourself, well, he could have had 4 anyway.
It's an extraordinary thing, Jimmy. You were a striker. You'll appreciate Frank McAvenny there. You know, we've seen him in the game. 2 chances, really. And then this second one here, when he's had that half chance again, he's got in there and he's lobbed it perfectly for Tony Cotty to finish it off.
Yeah. No, he really is. He comes to life then and gets that extra bit of acceleration. He's 10 times the player when the goal's in sight than he is at other times in the field. He just goes into another gear, and that's what makes him special, exciting, and that's what I hope will keep people watching him all over the country for the next few years.
Yeah, well, an extraordinary finish there. Of course, there's been another tie on this afternoon. Everton against Exeter. For so long, it looks as if the 4th Division side were going to go away with a 0-0 draw, but let's go to Goodison Park and hear from Barry Davis.
One beautifully struck right foot shot by Gary Stevens, 10 minutes from time, hit from 16 yards and angled across the area, put Everton through. Frankly, it was out of context with their performance as a whole, which lacked the guile, the composure and the style that one had come to expect. The absence of their entire midfield of last season is, of course, a fair excuse. But was it really necessary for them to play for so long with only 2 players up against the 4th Division side? And should 1st Division players not be more prepared to take on their man and beat them? And why for so long did they play to Exeter's strengths with a succession of poor crosses? Exeter, for whom the teenage Ling and Keong had good moments, and John Shaw made some fine saves, had only 2 real chances themselves. Both fell to skipper Alan Crawford. He was too diffident on the first and was quickly confronted by Southall on the second. Everton had chances galore, but will be much relieved to have come through.
1-0 at Goodison, 1-0 at Selhurst Park here. Lads, thanks very much for being with us through that exciting game. Jimmy, again, it's nice to see you smiling there because it was great disappointment for you. Can I tell you there are 2 ties, of course, that were off this afternoon, so we can perhaps look at the rearranged dates for those. Stoke against Notts County is now going to be Tuesday. On Wednesday evening, it'll be Middlesbrough against Southampton. So, lots of things to look forward to, really, aren't there, in these cup ties still?
I'm looking forward to football on television again, even on ITV.
Now then, of course, there's a game here tomorrow night, and there's the man who's already going ahead with his job. There's Len Chatterton, the groundsman here, who's done such a fantastic job to get the pitch ready for this afternoon's game. He's already at work. Marvellous, isn't it, that?
I think it is, and I think the teams tomorrow will have as good a surface as today. That is one that will provide, I think, a splendid cup tie. Maybe this time the 2nd Division team will triumph for a change.
Well, it's Crystal Palace against Luton. Yes. We're hoping that everybody will turn up for that game. Meanwhile, it's a smashing afternoon here. We hope that you've enjoyed this afternoon. It's great for us to be back. It's great to have you back. Why don't you join us again next Sunday when Match of the Day has another live game for you. That's the Cannon 1st Division match between Watford and Liverpool from Vicarage Road. Now that's at 3 o'clock next Sunday on BBC One. And from here at Selhurst Park, of course, what we have to remember is that it was a goal 2 minutes from the end from Tony Cotty that gave West Ham victory over Charlton. From all of us for now, goodbye.